So we need to chop up some onion. This recipe will be part of Cast Iron Fest, and it will be cooked in the slow cooker as well. So the first thing we need to do is chop up some onions. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is LouAnn and welcome to my kitchen. And there is a fly bugging around in here, flying around. So that coffee is a brewing and there is some sweet iced tea in that ice box. Well, this recipe today is still part of the community cookbook club, but it is also part of Cast Iron Fest, which probably will be my last year. I started it, but I feel like I'm not really into it. I've not really been doing a lot of recipes using cast iron. I hope to do better at that, and I may be showing you recipes throughout the year for that next year, using the cast iron, and some may be short, some may not. So let me turn the camera around and let's get to cooking. So we also need to chop up some carrots for our beef stew that will be cooked in the slow cooker, the Crockpot. And I kind of got a late start on this, but hey, it'll be alright. So here comes the cast iron part. I'm going to cut this deer steak up. I got 2 of them. I'm going to cut them in chunks. And of course get the bone out, which the bone we will be using for broth at a later date. But of course cut this off as well. And I'm going to cut it in chunks. And then we will move on to the cast iron skillet. Now, this is where the cast iron part comes in. The recipe didn't say to do this, but I am going to do this. I am going to brown up all this good, nice meat that we chopped up, cut up in small pieces. I'm going to get these a little brown. I'm just searing the sides. I'm not really cooking them all the way through, just brown them just to give it some flavor. And this is bacon grease I'm frying it in. So, and of course we're going to add other ingredients to this beef. Well, it's called deer stew because I'm using deer. Just a FYI. So we already got our onions and our carrots. This recipe also calls, the deer meat is about done. I'm going to add 2 pints of potatoes. It calls for about 4. There's a potato in there. If you can see, I'm going to grab that out of there. It calls for 4 potatoes. I'm using canned potatoes because that is what I have. It looks like there's potatoes in there. I'm going to have to get in a scoop. And I'm going to add a few other things to this as well. Now that the deer is for the most, deer chunks, steak chunks, deer stew, whatever you want to call it, it is brown for the most part. I'm going to add that to here. Then the next thing I'm going to add to this deer stew or beef stew is I'm going to add some homemade canned vegetable soup because why not? I'm going to add 2 pints to that. Don't worry. Yeah, you may say that's not a lot of liquid to this, but I'm going to add more to that. So now I'm going to add 1 pint of tomato sauce. It does call for can of tomatoes. I chose to do tomato sauce because number one, I need to use it. Number 2 is just to give it more flavor, and there is a little bit of the broth in there. So now we're going to add a little bit of salt, some sugar. It calls for a little bit of sugar, 3 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to eyeball it on that and mix it in. This next ingredient I'm adding